Hi, my name is Cheryl Camarillo, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified sex addiction therapist, certified sex therapist, and a certified deceptive sexual trauma therapist. So, what am I going to talk about? I guess we're going to talk about sex addiction and betrayal trauma. I wanted to try to come on as often as I can to just discuss some of the things that might be helpful for partners or for the person that's going through the therapies and treatments that they need to go to. I'm going to be honest. I think that if a couple or people have been impacted by someone's acting out behaviors, that it's probably pretty important to reach out and start discussing the impact that this kind of behavior has had on you. So, for example, if you are a person that has a partner whom you've discovered or has had disclosure from another, it's really important for you to recognize that there can be a response as if you experienced a trauma, and it will definitely be a trauma for you. There's other times that there's some people that don't seem to struggle with any of this and somehow move through. It might be, put to the side as a memory and reviewed somewhere down the line or experienced somewhere down the line, maybe another betrayal or another individual who's made you question reality, things like that. So I just wanted to point that out. And then if you're the person that is making the bad choices, maybe you're having affairs, maybe you're going online using dating apps or, looking at the dark web for, things that, interest you as far as, you know, videos. I guess the other thing that I've seen is that some people get very focused on using gentlemen's clubs on a regular basis. There's others that go to massage parlors. There's some that seek out escorts or actually calling escorts just so they can have conversations and then cancel whatever they've been discussing on, with the person. There's also emotional affairs. And what I consistently see is not only that, but there's usually multiple addictions. I know that I've explained in other videos that my partner suffered from multiple addictions, including, spending on some of the sports type activities, including, buying guns and um, bullets and things like that. He had just a ton of that stuff. And then, what other? Oh, he had an eating addiction. He also had alcohol as a problem. So that combination was just another extension of uh, addictive behavior. And then some of the things that I get from people, because I've had some calls recently for people asking about treatment. I usually have to answer questions like, is this even something to be concerned about as far as an addictive behavior? And especially the recent questions have been around the online porn material. So, the answer to that is, for any addictions, is it causing a problem in your life? And by causing a problem, maybe it's that you're breaking the vows that you have with your partner. And, it's creating a lot of, um, bad feelings between the two of you, or actually a realization about the pain that gets caused from a partner who acts out. Let's see. Where else was I going with this? Um, oh, okay. As far as like, is it an addiction? It could also be that, hey, you can't drive anywhere without turning that stuff on. It could be that you go to work and you turn it on in the background while you're doing your projects, as long as nobody can see that as soon as they walk into your office door. There's a lot of planning that goes into increasing the amount of what you're watching online. And let's see what else. I've seen some people that have had their behaviors go to the extent that they're actually using the family's finances for, um, for seeking out pleasure. Maybe they're paying webcam girls or other people for online, you know, pictures and conversations, sexting, etc. Let's see. There's also individuals that, um, have some other types of acting out that include voyeurism, taking pictures of people and putting them on the internet against or without their knowledge. I've had people that are, it's getting ready to be a problem with the, or it's already is a problem with virtual reality, and AI is going to be on the horizon with the virtual reality. I've had some young people who've become victims of older individuals because they're playing on games. I guess, we have young kids that are, playing online, and then somebody will initiate conversations with them and then start to do the grooming piece, like, asking what's important to them and reinforcing, that they don't need to listen to their parents, or reinforcing you should be sneaky, or you should tell lies, or you should keep secrets. So those are some of the things that I've worked on with teenagers. And then when you get to the 18, 19, 20, up to 25 or 26, you see another level of people with problematic behavior, and that's that they were so busy using online pornography. I'm trying not to say that word, but they're going online, and they're seeking that out, and it's pretty constant that they actually start not gaining the skills that most other people in the past used to gain skills, which is the interactions in the school setting, learning how to read, other people's behaviors, learning how to initiate discussions, learning how to flirt, learning how to have, dates with appropriate behavior and things like that. It doesn't get taught. And so by the time they're, 20, 21, they're finishing college, and they haven't had any kind of interaction with another individual that might potentially become a partner. They don't know how to date. They don't know how to approach anyone. So they have to go online and use the dating apps. And that's kind of the beginnings of their interactions. Now, I'm also seeing this trend of partners realizing that the person that they're involved with has a pornography issue, and they make demands that behavior be corrected, and that they go and get counseling, which has been an interesting situation over the last, I don't know, maybe 8 months. I'm finding that, I actually, specifically, since most of them are men right now, the females that are involved with them and some of the men involved with other men realize that this behavior is going on, and feel and do express that it's another form of cheating. For everybody that they're fantasizing about, it's considered a relationship that's taking time and energy away from the true relationship. So, um, what else? I think that's it regarding, like, what does one consider, um, porn and sex addiction. Infidelity, some people will say, is infidelity a sex addiction? And not necessarily. It depends on the reason behind it. If the choices that you purposely are seeking out somebody else for, um, just sexual purposes, and not necessarily for a relationship, and they've had several of those, it could be considered a form of sex addiction. Um, and especially if it's mixed with other things, because it's usually more than just seeking out another person. There's also other types of behaviors included when you are seeking only to have um, contact with and then ending connection with anybody. So it's not even really connection. It's kind of like, oh, I pay you money and you give me what I want. That's transactional, basically. So let's see. So I had, I kind of started writing down lessons learned for some of the clients that I work with that I feel like, well, if I'm teaching them about this, maybe it's something that would be helpful that I teach online. Everything I talk about does not mean that you are actually getting therapy. This is just an opportunity to share insights or to offer, other options for looking at things. So, I think one of the things that I noticed today was uh, the discussion about what is attractive, and partners feeling that if their significant other is seeking out pornography or other people or going online for dating apps and stuff like that, that it's a reflection of themselves, like what they need to be concerned about. And so the things that start developing is the sense of self. So self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-awareness, all of those things get knocked down when you have a person that's uh, seeing someone else that has a sex addiction or infidelity. um, so those senses of self that are going away actually lead into a lot of negative automatic thoughts. So those negative thoughts can include doubting yourself, that you have that you're attractive to your partner. It also involves feeling like maybe they're not good enough in bed. It's also you know questioning, is there something wrong with them? Is there something wrong with their body? Is there something wrong with their weight? Do they need to do something different? Why would they have been in a relationship with you when then they're also seeking out activity with someone else? There's also the issue of when when you find out that your partner is doing these things, um, and yet not doing these things with you, it can breed a level of resentment, especially if you're an individual that enjoyed activities, intimacy, etc. And then you find out, oh, well, he does enjoy it too, just not with me, right? So that's one of the things that impacts a lot of relationships, and specifically for the partner that was betrayed. When I talk about betrayal trauma, those women are actually the most, educated women and men. When they've been betrayed, they go out there and they look for answers. They want somebody to tell them what's right, what's wrong. They want somebody to jump in and tell and help them see like what's reality. Because prior to finding out about the sexual acting out, their life was doing pretty well. And then once they found something different, it's called intentional manipulated reality. They had one reality that's pre-existing condition or pre-existing reality, and then there's the discovery, which is like a shock to the system. And when the discovery happens, now that relationship, the pre-existing one, is never going to come back. It's going to go to another, to another style or another way of existing, and then you have to decide, do you want to stay in something that's changed? Now, can it change? I have seen it change for some people, and one of the reasons that it changes is because the person that acted out is very engaged and involved in their own program and in their sobriety plan, and they do a number of things to get themselves back on track. One of the there's there's 3 areas that I would say somebody, would find themselves on in order to start, like, fixing or correcting some of these behaviors. So one of them is, there's just the behavior, right? It needs to be fixed. Then the next thing that needs to be fixed is the entitlement. It's like, what have you told yourself that tells you in order for, me to, do these secretive things, I have to tell myself stuff like, "Oh, well, as long as nobody else knows what's going on," or "I have a right to my sexual activity, and I don't need to have anybody else, make comment on that, including the partner." Some so it's the behavior, it's the entitlement, and then the third thing is the change in, the reality of truth, right? Because you entered a relationship, there was a unspoken contract that you were there for each other, and at some point in the process of discovery, that that becomes a different set of, agreements, right? It's the individual that's acting out, controls all the information. It's actually a position of power, so they get to make all the decisions, like where, they get to make all the decisions as far as, like, the people that they're coming in contact with. Are they potentially people that could be dangerous? Are they people that could be passing on, sexually transmitted, diseases or infections? There's so many things that the person that acts out is controlling, and the person that's in the relationship has no idea what's going on. And that's kind of where I come in. Is I work with men, to start establishing truth, and a large part of that truth is also, leading to increasing empathy. So the empathy piece is, I have this, I'm working towards this connection with my partner, and part of it has to do with, can I understand what I've done to my partner? So can I step into her or his shoes and recognize that, there was a lot of, chaos that got created for my partner. Um, Yep. So some other things that go along with, with that chaos is, I don't know. I'm going to go back to my notes. So, um, one of the other things that I was working on, in, some therapy with people this week was, for sex addiction or, infidelity. It's like learning to recognize, how do you see yourself? Do you already have issues with self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, self-awareness? For a segment of the people that I work with, that have the problematic behavior, I definitely can see, some issues around, sense of self. And when there's issues around sense of self, then you have to figure out what you can do to have a sense of control in your life. And so for some, that means acting out. For others, that might mean, controlling a partner. For others, it might include connecting with people outside of the relationship. So, um, I had an interesting discussion with a couple of, partners of sex addiction, the betrayed, partners, and some of the things that they note is, like, the changes that, slowly occur across time, and some of those changes might include, um, understanding, what the partner's going through, recognizing what some of those symptoms are, acceptance of the fact that the partner can get triggered at times. And by triggered, it could be anything small, it could be anything big. It could be seeing a certain type of, ethnicity of a person walking by and knowing that that's the interest of their partner as far as the types of pornography that they choose, or maybe it's, certain locations where there's lots of people with lots of small, bathing suits, or, going to the grocery store and it's yoga pants time. It's it was interesting to me when I first started working in this field was that some people specifically pick times when they can go and observe the types of individuals they're looking for. And one of those is, women in their yoga pants. And by yoga pants, I mean the stretchy kind, not necessarily the leggings, not necessarily the, kind of bell bottomed jersey stretch ones. Um, what else? Hmm. Yep. So, as far as, trying to work with the person that has addiction, the, the important pieces when they come in, they have to establish their resiliency plan with me. And I try to make sure that they invite their partner in so that their partner knows what their plan is, not necessarily so that the partner can police them. The reason I want to make sure a partner comes in is because if they're suffering, I need them to know that they can trust that their partner is getting the tools and the information they need to try to change, because it'll make a big impact on um, you know healing process for the betrayed partner. Let's see here. So part of the, recovery plan for a lot of people might be that they go to Sex Addiction Anonymous, or Sex and Love Addiction Anonymous, or Sex and Porn Addiction Anonymous. I have a large number of people that will use the Sex and Porn Addiction Anonymous groups um, to attend, and those meetings are all day, every day, at different hours with different kinds of themes for some of them. And it gives them an opportunity to consistently show up somewhere. If you stay in the same meetings, you get a chance to start recognizing the same people in the groups. And the same thing is for betrayed partners. There's a lot of groups out there. And it's the fact that you can join others in community that are struggling with the same problems as you. The betrayed partners are able to, bond in and connect with other betrayed partners, serving as resources or helpful shoulders to cry on, etc. Then there's the other side, for the person with the addiction or the problematic behavior. It's also giving them a place or a community to work from. A large number of people have a lot of shame and guilt, and so going to these meetings will help you find others that are struggling with the same things, and it'll assist in trying to reduce um, the sense of shame and guilt. So usually I call that spiraling, um, into shame and guilt. When someone's spiraling, it means that now they're going to be stuck in their emotional states and not really necessarily there for their partner. And if that happens, then it can turn into um, another wall that they each see goes up between the two of them. The partner will see, that there's a wall and feel like they're being cheated on again. The person that's acting out with the shame and guilt experience puts a wall up because they don't want anybody to see what they're struggling with. And so it's that wall that comes up on both sides that keeps the healing from progressing. And a lot of times it also serves as a big distraction. The couples end up fighting over, why are you distant? Why are you detached? And it kind of goes back and forth between the two. And it's really important that once the crisis gets passed and there's safety in the home, that each individual get a chance to work on their own issues, rather than staying overly involved in each other's planning and doing and attending meetings and things like that. So I recommend sometimes for certain men to attend 30 meetings in 30 days. The reason behind that is to give them a place to understand that it requires actively changing their neural pathways, and they need to avoid or not be around those things that trigger off their, automatic thoughts about acting out. So 30 meetings in 30 days. I've had some people that relapse, and I ask them to do the 30 meetings again. Some of the different groups out there will also ask, in the interest of shutting down neural pathways, to also abstain from any kind of, sexual activity to include relations with your partner or, masturbation as, ways of, alleviating stress if that seems to be their go to thing. So you have to find other things that will fill your time and that will also help you manage your emotions if that's what you were using your problematic behavior for. So the 30 meetings in 30 days, I asked people to go and purchase the book Facing the Shadows. And it's really interesting to me because when people start jumping in there and working on the different worksheets and they bring them into the session so we can discuss one or two points out of the book, it really makes a difference in how they see the issue because it's all organized. It's got a lot of different, uh, worksheets to work on with a lot of areas for you to think about including things like, you know, manipulation and defensiveness, and what are the problems that you have because of your acting out behavior, doing other things like making amends, understanding the addiction cycle, just a variety of things in that first book. There's two other books that follow after that: Recovery Zone 1 and then Recovery Zone 2, and between those three books, they covered 30 basic tasks that Dr. Patrick Carnes had set up. And with the 30 tasks, the first seven, I believe, is in Facing the Shadows. And then the other, steps for the 12-step program can be spread across the other two books. Um, Ideally, it would be nice to find a group out there that works on Facing the Shadows. It gives you an opportunity to be in a group setting. It actually can lead to or end up providing a lower price point rather than going to individual therapy at a high rate, and going to group therapy where you're at least again in community, building a sense of connection with other people who are struggling with the same thing. Let's see. I also ask them, besides the book and the meetings, I ask them to start working on a self-care plan. And by self-care, I mean taking an inventory of what kinds of things are you doing physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. If you can cover those five areas and include covering the like financial for a lot of people, reviewing those kinds of things and setting goals for those areas will be significant in reducing stress, and then also significant in returning your life to a healthier form. So, physically, it's so important for you to get exercise again. It's important for you to have healthy bedtime rituals so that you get your 8 hours of sleep or whatever number of hours you need in order to like refresh your brain. Because let's be honest, you're in a crisis when I first usually meet people and they're not sleeping, they're not eating, they're certainly not going out and exercising because they're, ruminating or constantly thinking over and over about what's happened and what will happen in the future. So a lot of worrying. So exercise, sleep, and eating well. The eating well does not mean a bag of cookies. The eating well means trying to get your proteins, your vegetables, your fruit, some of the more natural things, and less of the things with additives and preservatives and dyes. Those things create additional stress on the body, and you don't really need that if you're under the stress of just life and relationship stress. So also mentally, self-care would include things like um, learning something new, learning a new language, learning an instrument, maybe reading science magazines or something to help you excel in your career field. Anything that gets your brain moving. So sometimes that could be something as simple as Duolingo. The next area is going to be emotional. So, what are you going to do to help calm yourself down emotionally? Are you going to, do deep breathing exercises, meditation, martial arts? I have a lot of men that will use jujitsu. And it doesn't matter what it is. What we're trying to do is get your brain and your body to reconnect. Because when you have addiction issues, the two aren't thinking, and working together. So we need to be reconnecting everything instead of doing things on autopilot. We need to do things with more thought. Let's see. Um, Other things for emotional, there's just so many that, there's no reason not to do it. But there's things out there called yoga nidra. You can go on YouTube and pick some of those out, especially the ones for insomnia. They work incredibly well. I have also recommended things like the body scan by John Kabat-Zinn. It gives a person an opportunity to calm their nervous system down by breathing into body parts. There's a lot of books out there about this, including The Body Keeps the Score. There's some books on somatic experiencing, which is just allowing your body to, allowing yourself to be hyper aware of what's going on in your body. And there's just a whole host of things in that area. Socially, I always encourage they need to make some kind of connection, or you need to make some kind of connection with other people so that you have a level of trust for some people, because right now the one person that you put all of your energy and trust into is now the person that's betrayed you. And um, I don't know about you, but if you're in this kind of position, you have a tendency to keep things to yourself. You don't want to suffer other people's judgment or opinions, suggestions. You should leave him. Why can't you forgive him? You should stay. There's so many people that have opinions and they don't have any problems sharing those with you, rather than give you what you need, which is somebody that will listen to you. So, um, under the social, it's good for you to connect in with people for short periods of time if you feel like there's a lot of people around you with opinions. Um, and if that means that you need to do other things like join some kind of exercise class, or go sit somewhere and people watch, just being around other people's energy will help as far as getting you energy and eye contact, which are both important, healthy things for people. So 5 minutes just to sit somewhere, or call and get somebody to meet you for coffee. Just additional people other than the person that betrayed you. And then the last one is spiritually, and that could be anything that makes you feel more connected into the world. So universally connected, it could be that your belief is that you have Buddhist background, or you're a Catholic, or of Christian faith. Maybe you're an individual who believes in connection to the earth and the different elements. It could be that when you walk or run in nature, that helps you feel connected to the earth. And the same thing with with going to the ocean. Sometimes um, being in that energy is enough to cause your brain to do a kind of like a flip, and all of a sudden you're thinking about how big the problem is, excuse me, compared to everything else that goes on in the world. I know that when I was struggling with my own issues with my partner, um, I knew that the place I needed to go was the ocean, and so I would go to the beach and sit on the sand and just feel the warmth of the sand and how it felt underneath my hands and feet. I would also listen to the crash of the waves, or a gentle wave coming in, depending on which beach I go to. So those kinds of things would help stabilize me in my nervous system. And that's the goal. So, all five of these areas, the goal is to stabilize the nervous system and to give your brain something else to do other than to sit and think over and over about what's happened or what you've done. Um, People with addictions, especially important to do all of these, different areas so that you can get your body and your brain back to a healthy functioning level. So, um, I think that's it for right now. I will jump back on with more notes. I'll try to get more and more organized as I do this. I just wanted to start developing a habit or a pattern. So thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to, in the description, I plan to put my website on there. Also, if you're interested in a webinar on betrayal trauma, I have a 3-part webinar that's free. You can also probably see a link down in my comments so that you can, watch the webinar. I also have one on relationships and couples, like how do you work towards healing, and that one will also probably have a link on my descriptions. I'm just learning how to do all of this, so I will get all of that stuff organized and put together, so that you just have to go to one place to check it out. But keep watching for more lives, and if you're catching this after the live, thank you. And everybody, please subscribe or give me a thumbs up or something like that. Just interact with my channel. I appreciate that. Thank you. And